Hey, what's up, Kid Zone coordinators? Want to take a minute and talk through the roles of the different young people that are serving in Kid Zone every single week. I really see four different roles that they might be serving in. So, number one, we have leader. Number two, we have apprentice. Number three, we have helper. And then number four, we have crew 45. Each one of them has a very significant role, but it is also a very different role. And I want to make sure that we're all on the same page of what each one of those different roles are responsible to do and how you qualify to be one of those people. So the reason this is important right now, we're going to be bringing in some new people. I always want to be bringing in new people because there's a need to have a constant pipeline of people coming in so that we have a strong leadership team that's familiar with the ministry. So crew 45 should eventually become helpers. Helpers should eventually become apprentices. Apprentices should eventually become leaders. So let's take a look at each one of those. Let's start with leader. I like our leaders to at least be in ninth grade. Now, in my time here, I've been at Awesome Park for 14 years. There's maybe been about 5 exceptions of somebody that was maybe ready to lead a group when they were in eighth grade. But for the most part, I like to target specifically ninth graders or older students to be small group leaders. They also have to live a life that's worth modeling for the kids. So I only want to put people in a leadership position that has a lot of influence with our kids if they're living a godly life, that they're pursuing God, that they're connected to the church. Not just somebody who's highly skilled. I want somebody that has the lifestyle that I'm looking for, that I can say, hey, kids, you can look at this person and you can model the way that they live their lives because they're following Jesus. So first we have the age, and then we have the lifestyle. Then we also have the skills. We need somebody that has the ability to teach a lesson and command the attention of a crowd. So if we give them a group of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, they need to be able to engage their attention. So three different things come into play there. You have the age, you have the spiritual commitment and the lifestyle, but then also the skill set. You need to have all three of those things present to be a leader. And then I also look for somebody that's been involved with Kid Zone for a season of time. This is kind of an ideal situation. Sometimes we can make exceptions. I think of somebody like Sarah Wolf, who was serving in the early childhood ministry for a while. She wasn't necessarily connected to elementary, but she was ready to just jump in and lead a group. So that's an ideal, but that's something that I look for before someone's a leader, but it's not always essential. And then in addition to that, I want somebody that's attending the weekend adult worship service every single week. That's a priority because in order to be able to give out to the kids, I want somebody that's also receiving ministry at the same time. And then we need somebody that has completed the full training that we do every year. We have a training that happens every August, usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours, to make sure that all of our small group leaders know what's expected of them. So that's our leaders. Some examples of that would be Jess Kapler, Evan Feltz, or Sarah Wolf would all be good examples of people that are currently in a leadership role. The leaders are responsible to lead their group during their group time. Also, they need to be able to lead a discussion. They need to oversee parts of the crowd during the large group time, and they have potential opportunities to be on stage. Not every small group leader needs to be on stage, but you have to kind of be at that level before we give you a lot of stage time where you're on the mic leading something. Okay, so let's take a look at the next group. That's apprentices. Apprentices really are people that we're looking at to be a small group leader eventually. They kind of have all of the skills necessary, or they have the potential, but they may not just be ready at that time. So to be an apprentice, you need to at least be in eighth grade. Again, there might be a few exceptions where we could take a seventh grader, but those are rare. Normally, I'm targeting someone that's an eighth grade or older to be an apprentice. We also want them to be living a life that's worth modeling for the kids, so they're living a godly lifestyle. And they need to at least show the potential to lead a group by themselves within the next 6 months. So my goal would be for anyone that is an apprentice role, they should be able to step into a small group leader role within 6 months. So that's kind of their progressive plan to grow in their leadership. They also need to attend a weekend and service, either the adult worship service or the middle school service, and they need to at least watch the training video that we have. Maybe they haven't gone through the full training, but they can watch the modified training video. Some examples of people that are serving as apprentices right now. Excuse me, Mitchell Slace would be a good one. He's in 8th grade. He's about to go into 9th grade. He kind of has some raw skills, but eventually I think that he could probably be leading a group in 6 months. Hannah Bradfield, she's probably really close to being able to lead a group. I think we've even used her to lead a group at times. She's just a really sharp girl that's been involved with Kids Zone since she was in 6th grade, comes every week. And then an Austin Garrett. Austin is in 8th grade, I think, and he is really close to being able to lead his own group right now. So apprentices do many of the same things that a leader does, but the difference is we should never put them out on an island by themselves to be responsible to lead. So maybe they're on stage with a microphone, but they always have somebody that is highly skilled with them that is helping them to present. Maybe they help in a small group, maybe they even lead part of the discussion, but it's always with a skilled leader that is right next to them. They should never be by themselves. They always should be paired with a leader. In case something goes wrong, there's somebody there to kind of save the situation. Okay, the next group of people is the helpers. So helpers need to at least be in 6th grade. And their qualifications are much more minimal. They need to be willing to volunteer in Kids Zone. They need to attend another service. They need to either attend the middle school service or the weekend service. And they need to be willing to submit to the leadership and commit to setting a good example while they're in Kids Zone. Now, these students may not be fully there with a lifestyle that we're looking for them to model to other kids. But the difference is we're not asking them to be in a high-level, influential position. We're asking them to come and help and do tasks. So they're responsible to do things like, okay, watch the moonwalk, pass out the candy, help in a group, not lead the discussion, but be there and sit with kids who are sad or they're distracted, or they can do things like make silly sippers. They may have very small roles on stage, but never like spoken roles with a microphone. Very similar to how we use I need 12 disciples and I just need some bodies on stage. That would be a good place to use helpers. They should never be used in a role where they have lots of influence or lots of responsibility over people. They're just there to help and do tasks, and eventually our goal would be that helpers become apprentices and apprentices become leaders. And then the last group is Crew 45. Now, Crew 45, they're actually kids that are in 4th or 5th grade, so we need to make sure we're still treating them as kids in Kids Zone. They need to do several things. They need to wear their Crew 45 shirt every time that they come to Kids Zone. If they forget their shirt, they're not serving in Crew 45. That's one of the responsibilities that we ask them to have, and they should be arriving 5 to 10 minutes before Kids Zone starts. So we have 6 o'clock, 9:30 and 11:15 start times. They should be there 5 to 10 minutes early so they can be there for the pre-service meeting. If they show up late, it kind of takes away their ability to be able to serve and get their assignments. Not a lot of responsibility for them. They should only be responsible to do tasks that should never involve any oversight of other kids, because keep in mind, they are still kids. They can be buddies, they can show kids around, they can act like a friend, but they shouldn't act like somebody who is in charge of somebody else. So here's appropriate things that you can ask Crew 45 to do. So here's an example. Hey, Johnny's here for the very first time. Can you show him the video games? So you're basically asking him to just be a friend, be another kid, show him the video games. He's not in charge. It's just, hey, give him a little bit of a tour. Susie's not been here for a while. Would you want to play Connect 4 with her? It's, again, just connecting two friends together. And sometimes you can do this with a kindergartner and a 4th grader just to create a good connection. But they're never put in a position where they're in charge. You can have them stand by the door and say hi and give high fives. You can have them pass out candy. You can ask them to help put away some of the board games that we have. Here are some things that we should not ask Crew 45 to do. Will you sit with this child with special needs? Our kids, 4th and 5th graders, are not capable of a lot of times understanding special needs, and especially not interacting with them in a way that is appropriate. It's just beyond their level of competency. We also don't want to say, hey, this little boy's crying. Would you be able to sit with him and help calm him down? Again, that's a responsibility for somebody that is out of Kid Zone, that's no longer in elementary school. Or even something like, hey, this little boy hurt his knee. Would you be able to get him a Band-Aid? We don't want fourth graders to be handling medical situations and also working with blood. So just wanted to give a quick overview. And remember, our goal is to get as many of our fourth and fifth graders in Crew 45 as possible, because it is our training ground to get them to the next level. And hopefully when they move into sixth grade, they stay and they help. They have additional responsibilities, and they grow into the maturity that we need to be eventually apprentices and eventually small group leaders. We always want to have this in mind, but we also want to give them appropriate amounts of responsibility and not give them too much. So just keep this in mind. This is just a quick overview of how we should be treating each one of the levels of leadership within Kid Zone. So keep this in mind for your specific service. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys soon.